Theresa Caputo's daughter-in-law, from Long Island medium, has been diagnosed with cancer. Theresa Caputo, regarded as the Long Island medium, has encountered unwelcome news. Michael Mastrandrea, the spouse of Theresa's daughter Victoria, is presently hospitalized due to severe cancer. Michael's health is deteriorating, and within this challenging period, Victoria remains at his hospital bedside, praying with tear-filled eyes for her cherished spouse. Upon receiving this news, Mother Theresa hurried to the hospital. She embraced her daughter and reassured her, stating, "Do not fear, Mother. We are all here for her." The physicians indicated that the illness was diagnosed too late. A physician stated, "He ought to have been admitted to the hospital sooner. The circumstances are now exceedingly complex." At this juncture, only God is aware of his destiny. However, be assured that we will exert our utmost efforts. Although the family is now fractured, the beacon of hope remains partially illuminated. All are united in prayer for Michael. The hospital corridors resonated with silence as Victoria Caputo Mastrandrea sat nestled in a chair, grasping her husband Michael's hand. The regular beeping of machinery was the sole sound she perceived, and each pulse underscored the fragility of time. Michael Mastrandrea, previously a vigorous and robust individual, had been contending with exhaustion and discomfort for some months. However, they attributed it to stress, extended work hours, and the demands of life. Cancer was unforeseen by anyone. No one was prepared for the dire diagnosis received just days ago. Stage 4. Hostile. Complex. Victoria had been by his side for 72 hours. Her eyes were crimson from weeping, and her voice was raspy from silently beseeching. "Please," she murmured to an unspecified audience, "kindly refrain from removing him from my possession." The door to the hospital room creaked open gradually. Victoria glanced upward to observe her mother, Theresa Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium, entering the room. Her television-ready hair and self-assured demeanor were vanished. In her stead stood a mother, vulnerable and human, concerned not for her own well-being, but for her daughter. Theresa silently traversed the room and enveloped Victoria in a firm embrace. Victoria collapsed in her mother's embrace. "Do not fear, dear," Theresa murmured. "We are all present for him. You are not solitary." Theresa had consistently been the family's source of strength, although this occasion was distinct. Her ability as a medium, an asset that had aided numerous individuals in navigating grief, seemed to be both a boon and a burden. For the first time in an extended period, she was uncertain about the forthcoming events. Michael's vitality appeared to her as a flickering candle in the breeze. The physicians had scant positive information to provide. Dr. Hanley expressed his dismay after examining the scans. "The malignancy has disseminated excessively. Had he arrived earlier, circumstances may have altered," he remarked softly. "At present, only God is aware of what the future holds. However, we shall endeavor to exhaust all possibilities." Upon returning home, the Caputo family was in a state of sadness, however it was not devoid of hope. Theresa's former spouse, Larry, visited her notwithstanding their discord, extending his assistance. The film crew from the television show suspended production indefinitely, honoring the family's privacy and grief. Subsequently, Theresa commenced the organization of prayer circles. She contacted fans, friends, and spiritual leaders nationwide. Candlelight vigils were conducted in honor of Michael. Numerous individuals participated via live streams and conveyed messages of hope and healing. Victoria perused each communication directed to Michael, regardless of his state of consciousness. "You have impacted numerous lives," she murmured. "You are not solitary. We are not solitary." One evening, Theresa stood solitary outside the hospital beneath the stars. She shut her eyes and murmured a message to the universe. "Spirit, if you are attentive, please direct him. Heal him if it is his destiny. However, if it is not, grant us the fortitude to release with dignity." Suddenly, she experienced a warmth and tingling in her hands, sensations she had not had in weeks. It was subtle, yet reassuring, akin to a murmur from beyond. Not yet. That night, Michael opened his eyes for the first time in several days. His voice was feeble, yet he gazed at Victoria and smiled. "I remain present," he stated. Teardrops cascaded down her visage. "You frightened me." "I am not finished fighting," he responded, grasping her hand tightly. It was not a miracle, but it represented a beginning. Michael's health persisted as critical, however, the optimism among everyone intensified. The Caputo family, united by love, faith, and resilience, faced the most challenging period of their life together. Even in the darkness, the light of hope persisted. Nonetheless, the Sunday afternoon in Long Island was cold, with the sky enveloped in a muted gray. A couple, Linda and Marco Rivera, entered the unpretentious yet warmly illuminated studio where Theresa Caputo conducted her private readings. Their eyes were fatigued, tormented by sorrow that no passage of time could alleviate. Merely 6 months prior, they had suffered the loss of their 12-year-old son, Elias, due to a rare neurological disorder that medical professionals found challenging to diagnose until it was too late. The anguish of witnessing their child deteriorate rapidly, without comprehension of the cause, created a profound emptiness in their hearts and left unanswered questions resonating in the stillness of their home. Theresa welcomed them with her customary welcoming grin and an air of confidence that consistently instilled in others the notion that perhaps, just perhaps, there was something deeper. "You need not disclose anything to me," she remarked, assuming her seat. "He has arrived." Linda inhaled sharply. Marco tensed in his seat. He is a 12-year-old boy. Exceedingly playful energy. He expressed his affection for video games, although he was unable to play them towards the conclusion. He claims he would merely observe while you sat opposite him reading. Theresa gazed at Linda. Linda inhaled sharply, her eyes brimming with tears. "I read him fantasy narratives when he was too frail to engage in play. He had a profound affection for dragons." "He is currently laughing," Theresa remarked, smiling. He states, "Inform Mother that the dragon is secure. I piloted it towards the stars." Marco extended his arm and grasped Linda's hand firmly. Theresa's demeanor became gentler. "He asserts that he is aware you both hold yourselves accountable for not detecting the disease sooner. He is resolute. He asserts that no one could have anticipated. My parents were my heroes," he states. "They exhibited greater tenacity than anyone else." Linda wept into a tissue, her body quaking. "We continually contemplated, if we had exerted more pressure on the physicians, if we had sought treatment at an alternative hospital." Theresa interjected softly. "He is presenting a white butterfly to me. That is his indication to you. He claims to visit you whenever you are seated near the garden. Have you observed one recently?" Marco appeared astonished. 3 days prior, one alighted on her shoulder while she was weeping outdoors. She remained stationary, merely remained seated. "That was he," Theresa stated gently. "He wants for you to cease weeping each night. He asserts that he is now well. Absence of pain, absence of fear, merely illumination and a liberation." Theresa briefly shut her eyes before reopening them, clearly affected. "He expresses gratitude for his release and for the blue blanket you wrapped around him in his final hour. That was of paramount significance to him." Linda acquiesced while weeping. That was his preferred choice. Subsequently, Theresa included an additional point. "He wishes to express, he is proud of you, Father. Despite the difficulty, I return to work. Additionally, Mother, he desires for you to resume drawing." Linda's lip quivered. She ceased sketching the day Elias died. Upon the conclusion of the reading, both Linda and Marco had an unusual warmth in their chests. Not closure in the conventional sense, but rather a gentler release from the firm hold of grief. The suffering did not vanish. However, for the first time, they sensed Elias's presence in a novel, ineffable manner. The clouds dispersed, revealing a beam of golden sunlight on the walkway. While the couple returned to their vehicle, a white butterfly flitted by, round them once before vanishing into the sky. Within her studio, Theresa murmured gently, "Thank you, Elias. You performed well, dear." Nonetheless, Over a year had elapsed since 16-year-old Jacob first saw Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium. Their initial session had elicited tears from him, genuine, restorative tears. At that time, he was but 15, still in a state of shock following the devastating loss of his older brother Daniel in a vehicle accident. The anguish was recent, his inquiries unresolved, and the burden of survivor's guilt substantial on his youthful shoulders. On that day, Theresa assisted in opening a door, however something within him remained sealed. At 16 and more subdued than ever, Jacob's mother, Karen, contacted Theresa once more. This time, she acted without desperation. She acted because she believed her son was now prepared. Not merely for a reading, but for resolution. The Caputo's humble residence was cozy and welcoming. Theresa, adorned in her characteristic stilettos and elevated hairstyle, welcomed Jacob with a smile. "Oh my goodness, observe your appearance. You have increased in height by a foot since I last saw you," she articulated, her Long Island accent elongating each syllable with a maternal familiarity. Jacob elicited a faint smile. "I suppose time has that effect." Theresa regarded him with intensity, her tone altering. "However, your heart continues to bear that burden, does it not?" He nodded, his gaze averted. "I continually ponder, perhaps if I had not messaged him to retrieve me that evening, he might still be alive." Theresa's demeanor became gentler. She shut her eyes and inhaled deeply. Subsequently, her voice altered. "Your brother just arrived, unmistakably and distinctly," he stated. "Cease using the term maybe, Jake. I made the decision. You did not compel me. I adore you, and I would repeat the experience without hesitation." Jacob's lip quivered. Theresa remarked, "He claims you play his favorite song at night, akin to a lullaby." Jacob nodded vigorously, astonished. "I affirm. Fix You by Coldplay. Each night prior to retiring. He perceives it. He asserts that it aids both him and you in achieving sleep. He takes pride in the manner in which you converse with him in private. You inform him about your educational institution, your acquaintances, and the girl for whom you have affection. Indeed, that particular one." Jacob's visage flushed crimson. "In what manner does he?" "He remains your brother." Still inquisitive, Theresa smiled. She then halted, her hand resting over her heart. "He desires for you to cease attributing blame to yourself. He states, 'Allow me to be your wings, not your shackles.'" Jacob collapsed. The burden of the preceding year was finally permitted to be relinquished. His shoulders trembled, yet his tears no longer bore bitterness. They were the type that purifies. Prior to her departure, Theresa presented Jacob with a small crystal pendant. "This is not sorcery," she stated. "However, it serves as a reminder. Upon contact, bear in mind that love is eternal. It merely transforms its state." Jacob grasped the pendant and murmured, "Thank you." As he began to depart, Theresa exclaimed, "Hey, Jacob." He glanced backward. Daniel stated, "Inform him that I occupy the front passenger seat, consistently." Jacob beamed, genuinely beamed this time. "I am aware." Nevertheless, nearly a decade had elapsed since Theresa Caputo, the acclaimed Long Island medium, first astonished audiences with her remarkable capacity to communicate with the deceased. In Raising Spirits, a new Lifetime docuseries, Theresa undertakes her most intimate and poignant trip to date. The episode commences on a dreary Monday morning in Long Island. Theresa, adorned in her characteristic shoes and towering blonde hair, stands outside a serene youth center. Her objective here diverges from her previous experiences. She is no longer only conveying messages from the beyond. She assists young individuals in navigating sorrow, guilt, and unresolved trauma through her mediumship and an innovative form of mentorship. Theresa enters a small therapy room adorned with family photographs, painting materials, and gentle illumination. She is welcomed by 17-year-old Jesse, who experienced the loss of his elder brother, Daniel, in a horrific motorbike accident not 6 months prior. Jesse is reticent, hardly establishing eye contact. His mother, Elaine, observes from afar, tears glistening in her eyes. He no longer communicates with anyone, she states softly. As Theresa initiates her connection, her eyes shut and her fingers exhibit a characteristic twitch, indicating the proximity of a spirit. She abruptly states, "Your brother Daniel is present. He continually displays a black leather jacket and claims he intended to gift you one identical to it. Are you aware of this?" Jesse gazes upward, astounded. "I desired one for my birthday. He was accumulating funds to purchase it." Theresa assents. He states, "I regret that I never had the opportunity to present it to you. However, whenever you don black attire, I am present with you. I continue to watch over you, young one." Jesse succumbs to emotion, shedding the first tears he has permitted himself since the catastrophe. At that moment, the stillness he had constructed around himself shatters dramatically. The subsequent segment of the episode depicts Theresa facilitating a specialized group session in a church basement with 5 bereaved adolescents. 15-year-old Mariah just experienced the loss of her little daughter following a preterm birth. Theresa sits with her softly. "You experience guilt, as though you could have taken additional action," Theresa states, extending her hand. Mariah assents, rendered speechless. "However, your daughter is presenting me with a butterfly. A small purple one. Did you select that for a specific purpose?" Mariah inhales sharply. Her funeral attire featured purple butterflies. It constituted her motif. "She is secure," Theresa reassures her. "She desires for you to smile once more. She wants for you to experience love anew, without of shame." Mariah grins for the first time following the loss. "I required that affirmation," she murmurs. However, it is not invariably straightforward. One portion of the episode depicts Theresa meeting a bereaved father, Luis, who perceives her as a charlatan. "I reject fairy tales," asserts Luis. "I desire the return of my daughter." Theresa assents gravely. "I am unable to restore her. However, I can inform you that she is displaying a red ribbon to me. A notepad replete with poems. You have concealed it from your wife. What is the reason?" Luis appears astonished. "Because it is excessively painful to read." She instructs to read them, Theresa murmurs. Collectively. Ultimately, even Luis starts to relent. The episode concludes with Theresa at home, igniting a candle. She gazes squarely at the camera. "I have engaged in readings throughout my entire life," she states. However, this endeavor, assisting the subsequent generation in managing their grief without being overwhelmed by it, is distinctly different. This constitutes healing on an alternative plane. The spirit does not merely arrive to converse. The spirit arrives to elevate us. Subsequently, the camera withdraws, disclosing numerous messages submitted by adolescents and families nationwide, all imploring Theresa to alleviate the burden that grief imposes. Nevertheless, on a brisk autumn morning in Chicago, the Windy City Live (WCL) studio was abuzz with anticipation. The crowd was filled with individuals from diverse backgrounds, some doubtful, some mourning, others merely inquisitive. However, they all possessed a singular commonality. They arrived in anticipation of a sign, a message, or a connection. Today, Theresa Caputo, the renowned Long Island medium, was poised to step onto the platform. Theresa made her entrance amidst a resounding ovation, characterized by her distinctive voluminous hair, vibrant demeanor, and empathetic presence. Clad in a white blazer and gold heels, she exuded warmth and confidence. However, beneath her radiant grin, her senses were acutely heightened. "Spirit does not await my initiation of conversation," she remarked with an understanding smile. "They are already conversing with me, dear." She traversed the floor deliberately, her hand gently positioned on her chest. "A young man is present here," she said, her gaze surveying the gathering. "He passed away abruptly, similar to an incident. He asserts that no one is to blame, and he continually presents a red sweater to me. Has anyone here lost a sibling or son called Jason or Jay?" A woman in the third row inhaled sharply, tears welling in her eyes. "That is my son, Jason. He perished in an automobile accident 2 years prior.
He donned his red sweater that day.
Theresa approached her softly. He states, "Inform Mother that I perceive her at the cemetery. I observe the balloons." He stated, "I am now well." He also mentioned a turtle necklace. The woman wept more intensely. "I don his turtle charm daily. It was his preferred animal." The chamber became quiet. The cameraman halted, ensnared by the significance of the occasion. Theresa extended her hand and grasped the woman's hand. He just stated, "Mother, it was not a farewell. It was a farewell." A different voice emanated from the rear. "Pardon me. I sense that she is also referring to my brother." Theresa pivoted, shutting her eyes. "You lost your brother to suicide, correct?" The gentleman acquiesced. "Affirmative. His name was Daniel." Theresa's tone became gentler. "He has arrived," he states. "Inform my brother that I did not intend to cause him harm. I experienced discomfort. However, I am aware that he continues to hold himself accountable. Kindly instruct him to cease." Her eyes filled with tears. "He possesses your former baseball glove." The man's knees faltered somewhat. We engaged in catch daily. The atmosphere within the studio became dense, not with sorrow, but with liberation. Numerous spirits manifested: a grandmother who baked cookies weekly, a soldier father who perished abroad, and a young girl who succumbed to leukemia, conveying to her parents that she was now dancing in heaven with the pink stars. Certain skeptics wept silently. Some held photographs or keepsakes tightly to their chests. Theresa was unaware of their names. She refrained from inquiring. She transmitted message after message, functioning as an intermediary between the living and the afterlife. As the hour approached its conclusion, Theresa remained still. "You know," she remarked, gazing into the camera, "this gift, it transcends death. It pertains to restoration. It pertains to assisting individuals in achieving a fulfilling life." The audience rose, some applauding, some dabbing their tears. The WCL hosts expressed their gratitude. However, those present understood that this was not merely a performance. It was a moment of intimacy that would endure eternally. Outside the studio, the wind intensified slightly, akin to a whisper conveyed by the breeze. Somewhere, an individual in mourning smiled for the first time in an extended period. "Greetings, esteemed viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina, and I hope your day is going splendidly. If you like the video, please remember to subscribe to the channel.